Well, when I turned 7 years old, when you turn 7 years old, the trip was up to St. Lawrence Peanut Company in Bay City, Michigan. All the way when you get in the truck, 7 years old, your birthday. That's when you're going on your birthday. He put you in the truck. Whatever he doing, he laid that aside. He put you in the truck. He take you, and all the way up to Bay City, there wasn't no expressways. He giving you your lecture. Son, as long as it's human beings, it'll be wants and desires. It's your job to fulfill one of them. And if you do, son, he always use the word son. He said, if you do, you will be able to forever make an independent living. Then he had a colloquial, like, if you miss one bus, son, it'll be another one to come along. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna tell you one thing, a lot of them different little things, I ignore it, but I learned a lesson in my life. If you have children, or if you in a teaching moment and you trying to teach someone something, it's your job just to tell them. They may not get it then, but it'll catch up with them. And absolutely with my dad, that 7-year-old lesson that I got, it caught up with me in life. Well, what happened to me was, when I turned 18 years old, like probably majority of the kids that I was around, we had idols, and we had false impressions about how we was gonna be successful in life. I put it like that. So we had a little gang. We had a little gang, 4-member gang. So our little gang, we stole tires off cars, jacked the cars up, get up in the middle of the night. My mother had died when I was 14, and only my dad and I was living in the house. Now, my mother been living, ain't no way I could have left the house at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, go steal people's tires. And so we got caught. And when I got caught, I went to jail. So my sister, my dad, and all of them told my brother, his name's Meso, leave him in jail. Let him go to the penitentiary. You understand what I'm saying? So I spent 4 days in jail, and my sister come got me. Now that's what turned me around. Now here's another key point in my life. When I got out of jail, I had to resort back to what I knew and what I've been taught. So I went by one of my brother's houses, and there was a guy with a vegetable truck, and he ringing the bell. So I come out of my brother's house, and I start talking to the guy. And I asked the guy, I just got out of jail 3-4 days. I got to do something better than steal. I can't steal for a living. So I asked him, I said, is this all you do? He said, this is all I do. I said, can you make a living? He said, I just got me a 225. That was the Buick in there. I just got me a brand new 225, and I built me a ranch-style house. I said, all for this? He said, yeah. He said, that's all I do. He said, why, are you interested? I said, well, yeah. He said, can you get up in the morning? I said, yeah, I can get up in the morning. He said, well, meet me at the Eastern Market in Detroit. So I had an old car. So I drove my old car, Eastern Market at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I walked around. His name was Lathan Jefferson, Sr. I walked that market with him, and he knew all them people. He knew what to buy. They had specials on green beans. These green beans here was 55 cents a bushel. The other green beans he bought was $2 a bushel. So I said, well, it was 55. He said, but look at them. You see that? See, once you get them on your truck, they ain't gonna last a day. These here last 3-4 days. He taught me He taught me. I came home and I put that old car for sale for $50, and I sold it. The guy gave me $50, and I went and got me a truck. And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I want to sell vegetables. He gave me $45. I'll never forget it. He said, gave me $45. And man, I went down, met Lathan. He took me around with my old truck. He loaded my truck. He was late working that day. Because you know, you go on the market at 4 o'clock. Because you gonna be on the street at 8 o'clock in the morning when the people get up. You know what I mean? But we had to drive all the way back to Flint. So he took his time. He loaded my truck, and that man told me this. He said, look, and that taught me something about competition. He said, you follow me, just follow me. I said, follow you? He said, yeah, just get your truck. He put the same thing on his truck, same thing on my truck. He said, you follow me. So I followed him around. And I asked him, I said, man, you work the street. He said, it don't make no difference. He said, some gonna buy from you and some gonna buy from me. I ain't worried about you taking that, they sell from me. And if they buy from you, it wasn't my sale in the beginning. And I took that pattern all through life. I never was envious or jealous of no competitor in no business I ever been into. You understand? That taught me that. And I followed him around, and then he gave me half his route. He just gave me half his route. And from 18 to this day, I'm 80 years old. Whatever business that I'm in, if I could help them, if I could give them a word of advice, I'd do that. I never did nothing to hurt them. A lot of them did stuff to me, but it didn't make no difference. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's the rule I operated on. Well, my granddad's name was Nelson Jarrett. He originally was born in Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana. He grew up in Monroe. He became an entrepreneur. He had a freight company with a horse and wagon. Then he assimilated into a work crew on different farms. And from that, he amassed a 4-family crew. They migrated from Louisiana for a better opportunity into Cotton Plant, Arkansas. And that's where he spent his final days in Cotton Plant. He had purchased 60 acres of his own cotton farm, but he worked over hundreds of acres with his 4-person crew. My dad's father, which was Nelson, I'm gonna refer to him in this documentary as Nelson. That's my middle name, Nelson. Nelson, he always was, from my understanding, very unique. He only had two boys. Now, my father's mother was 14 years old when he was born. My granddad took my father from this 14-year-old girl, and he raised my father. And he raised my father everywhere he went. He took my father every single place he went. And my father was unique in 2 ways. My granddad educated my father, because the rest of them kids worked in the field. My father never worked in the field. He sent my father away to a boarding school from 7 years old until he was 16. He graduated when he was 16. And he was going to the Arkansas A&M College. You know, my granddad enrolled him in the Arkansas A&M College. You know, so my dad at that time was formal education. My father's nickname was Man. And this person that was giving me the history, a cotton plant, told me that he acquired the name of Man because 2 times a year, my grandfather would go to Natchez, Mississippi, and he'd get a suit made for Easter, and he'd get a suit made for Christmas. He would get a suit identically made for himself and my dad. And my dad was number like 7, 8, 9 years old, all through them years till he left the South. My dad and my granddad dressed similar. In them days, the suit, the coat, the overcoat would come down, the hat, the shoes, all of them always matched with my dad. So my granddad had read in a paper that Henry Ford was paying $5 a day for workers, and they was recruiting people out of the South. So my granddad put 4 boys from them 4 families that he had in his crew, and he took them to the railroad station, put them on the train, and it was a cattle car with straw on it. So Mr. Hopper Rice told him he had to get his cotton out the field. My granddad said, no, these boys going north. And he took them to the next town, put that 41 coat on his hip, and took them to the next town and sent them to Detroit. Well, when they got to Detroit, Henry Ford had dispensed hiring that day. And it was a state-track truck with a sign on it. If you want a job, paying $5 a day, get on the truck. So all them boys, they jumped up on the truck, and at that time, it wasn't but one, they called it Dixie Highway. It wasn't but one way to Flint. So once they crossed 8 Mile Road, it was all wood and desolated. And so when they got to Flint, it was dark. It was nighttime. And the truck took them over there on Lee Street, under the viaduct, and told them to get off here and just wait till in the morning. And that's how my dad ended up here. My dad got here, this is a key part of the story. When my dad got here, he was an old country boy, and they put him in the foundry. So they had a trolley running across the top of the foundry that pulled, with the mold in it, that pulled the iron into the sand molds. So it was a guy up there, everybody worked there knew when the alarm went off, that meant it was hot iron on the sand. The floor was all sand, you know. And the guy who was driving it to speed people up, you know, just a wiseacre guy. Every now and then he would just drop a little bit out the pot on the floor and everybody go to running. My dad, he didn't know what they was doing, so my dad got the top of his feet burn off. And in them days, they didn't have medical attention like they do now with burns and all this kind of stuff. In them days, all they did was just wrap your feet with gauze and sulfur. So it took my dad a year to heal up. And once his feet healed up, he went back to get hired in the shop, and he was blackballed from the factory. So that drove him back into his earlier learning with my grandfather, and he started entrepreneurship at that time. That's around 1920. And he started working for a Jewish guy named Armin. And the name of the company was City Ice and Fuel. My dad's job was to unload a boxcar of coal in the wintertime. In the summertime, my dad delivered ice. Started in 1920. 1940, I got the year right, 1945, Armin retired. He sold that ice business on Michigan Avenue, ice plant. It was a plant manufacturing ice to my dad. He really liked my dad. My dad was real honest. My dad built up a trust in him. And not only did he sell the business to my dad, he had a 8-passenger Cadillac. And he sold that to my dad. My dad had an 8-passenger Cadillac limousine, and my dad continued to sell ice until his death, 1979. But my dad was he was a consummate entrepreneur. He bought the fish market and poultry market over on St. John Street. He opened up a nut house, they called it Jarrett's Nut House, with a variety of nuts. He also had penny machines with the glass on the top. You put a penny in it and you turn it. He had peanut machines in all the businesses. I think, I don't want to lie, I'd be lying if I know, but I know it was north of 50 machines. Everywhere you went, it was one of them machines. Just a penny machine. Matter of fact, I still got some pennies out of that machine. my kids think I'm crazy. You know what I mean? I got some pennies out of that machine I kept. My dad had 8 boys, and when they turned 7 years old, he put a peanut bag in their basket. It was a basket. And your job was to come home, take your clothes off, get that basket. That, and I really credit that to my entrepreneurship, number one, and for my knowledge of the different people in the St. John area. Because see, we was limited to St. John Industrial Avenue. We only had two spots in Flint. The south side, and that was around Liberty Street where black folks stayed, and the St. John Industrial area stayed. So I knew, I walked them streets every day. It was a wonderful, wonderful neighborhood because I was sheltered. You know what I mean? Them little nickels and dimes, I probably one of a day I might have 80, 90 cents, but I didn't have to worry about nobody robbing me, or if I needed to use the bathroom or I needed some water, wherever I'm at, I could go up to them people's house. You know what I mean? And, it was open. And we all knew each other. We slept on the front porch. We didn't have no lock on our door. We had a skeleton key, one of them skeleton locks. We'd go down south, and my mother said, go across the street and get Bitsy Mob's key. And Bitsy Mob had the key. She the only one out the whole Grant Street that had a key, and then nobody else didn't have no key. Miss Coulter and them, they leave, go across there and get Bitsy's key. But we didn't have anything. Wasn't no TV. We had a big radio, an ice box. Wasn't nothing for the take. Wasn't no air conditioning, wasn't no insulation in them houses. Hot like it's been the last couple months here in Flint. We'd been sleeping out. We were sleeping outside on the porch. What the St. John area meant to me, it was family. It was family. I had 3 kids of my own, and I raised 6 kids of my sister-in-law. All them kids went to college except one. All of them graduated from college except one. And the one that didn't graduate, she can buy all them other 5 when her pop. She's an entrepreneur that I raised. So yes, they will do better. They will do better at the station that they in now. You understand what I mean? They very successful, they married, 2 of them got kids, the rest of them don't have kids. They professionals, got college degrees. You understand what I mean? And they hold a so-called high position in the field that they endeavored in because I seen to that. See, I seen that they went to college. I got grandkids. That's me. I don't have a high school education. I dropped out probably the 9th grade. You understand what I mean? But all my kids, all kids I had in any part of their life, even my grandkids, I started them out in Montessori school, 3 years old. They went all the way through to college. I financed it. None of them got no student debt. None of them, absolutely none of them. And there's a couple of other kids, they're doctors. One is a doctor. One is a successful nurse and stuff. So yes, they did fire in my case. they did better than me on at the station that they in life now. But the tipping point for me was in 1972. I read a book by Harry Brown, How to Find Freedom in an Unfree World. And in that book, that really took me to the next level when I read that book. And in that book, he emphasized that your children's success depends on you, not the government. You responsible to educate your children. And I took that to heart. And since 1972, I pretty much lived my life like that. All a kid gonna learn about learning is in this from 3 to 6 years old. So that catapulted me into sending them to Montessori school. You understand what I'm saying? And also, I've been an example for my kids. Now, a lot of people, my family and a lot of people are, you spoiling them kids. Yes, come to daddy. Don't get in the back of the seat of the car when I send you to Hampton University or I send you up to Michigan to get a damn hamburger. You understand? Don't jump in the back seat. All girls. See, I had all girls. Don't jump in the back seat. You're gonna have a credit card. You're gonna have everything you need to be successful. Now I had one girl, my oldest girl. She come to my house one day and she said, and she looked terrible. She come to my house, I was in the yard cutting grass. She came to me and she fell on her knees, started crying. She said, Daddy, damn, make me cry. She said, Daddy, I've done some things that you're gonna hear about that I'm ashamed of. She said, but I'm gonna turn my life around. And today, she got a master's degree in biology, and she's running a lab down in Toledo, Ohio. She changed her life around that day. Tell anybody, and I'll be honest, I'm the youngest, and I benefit from all the labor. I benefited from mama, from daddy's farm. Right now, the project that I'm doing now is a result of their effort. From my brothers, it all passed down to me. I have a 235-acre development, which my dad bought the property in 1956 for a farm. I turned it from a farm. I started this project in 1966. I have built 2 roads on it. I started building houses in 96. And I got a house going up today. You say what I'm doing today. I got a house going up today. It's 3,500 square feet. It's in a moderate neighborhood. The last house I built is sold for $407,000. My dad bought that farm because that dad, I always called him the cotton patch philosopher. He always was a forward thinker, and he actually wanted us, his 13 kids. At the time he bought that farm, it was only 11 of us left living. But he wanted the farm to be developed, and he wanted all of us to build homes out there and live on a compound like the Kennedys and them. But they came, my brothers and them, they didn't catch the vision. I'm the only one caught the vision, and I want to continue that legacy. And that's the problem I'm wrestling with right today. After me, I'm 80, so after me, who gonna continue the vision?